In this episode,
I was having problems, especially when I was playing baseball, with my left knee, to the point where I was afraid I was going to have a knee replacement
already.
And I felt I was way too young for that. So I was looking for something that would alleviate the pain without surgery, without drugs. So I flew to Minneapolis. Their company is in Apple Valley, just south of Minneapolis. Did the treatments, and my knee was amazing. I didn't have to do a surgery. They were doing professional athletes before that.
Okay.
And they wanted to branch out to the general public.
Yeah.
So they came up with a device, an RX100. It's not just to stop having surgery. It also, after you have surgery, you'll be back in 1/5 the time. When you walk, the amount of force on your body is 4 times that of your weight.
Really?
Yeah, and when you run, it's 16 times.
So?
It can be 16 times.
Huh.
So there's a lot of force going into your joints.
I felt that electrical stimulation to the point where I go like, oh my goodness. Welcome to Health in Focus with Jacobus. In today's episode, something that's really interesting. It has to do with pain, recovery from pain. And that seems really simple, but this is a very different approach that many of you, most of you probably have never heard about. I wrote an article back in 2012, I think, and it was called Pain for Pleasure. And you go like, why do I want to have pain for pleasure? Well, because you need to understand what this is all about. And so I'm going to talk with you today about something called the ARPwave, ARPwave, which stands for Advanced Recovery Protocols. And to do that is with my guest and dear friend, Paul Erickson. We had an interview earlier about his success as a amateur bodybuilder and somebody who has really made it into fitness. And for the last 10 years, he made drastic changes in his diet, but he got motivated to start bodybuilding. But this, since I wrote this in 2012, was because I had a radio show with Paul and the inventor of this specific unit, how this works, in the radio studio. So we didn't really have any pictures, it was just talking to people on air. But this time, I'm so happy that Paul Erickson is back because he has used this extensively and he guides and coaches people if they want to do this, if they feel that this is something they may want to try because they haven't had success dealing with pain issues or the ramifications of surgeries that have built scar tissue and that has affected them in their mobility. So this is a very interesting topic. I hope you stay with us because you're going to learn some amazing things. Paul, thanks for being back on the program.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I wrote this article in the May-June issue of Natural Life News and Directory here in the Bozeman area in May-June of 2012. And so we had a radio show in February, I think, of that year. And tell me a little bit, what are we talking about? There is obviously statistics that we can talk about today, but explain to me how you got involved, what was it, and what have you done with it since that time?
Well, how I got involved was I'm a pretty athletic guy. So from playing baseball to martial arts, whatever, past injuries, it's almost like interest in the bank.
Yeah.
When you're young and you get an injury, you don't think about it because it usually goes away right away. But then it accumulates, especially if you tear,
ligaments or so.
tendons,
sure.
things like that. And you're not going to have every one of those, some orthopedic surgeon repair them. Mm-hmm. So I was having problems, especially when I was playing baseball, with my left knee, to the point where I was afraid I was going to have a knee replacement
already.
And I felt I was way too young for that. So I was looking for something that would alleviate the pain without surgery, without drugs,
Mm-hmm.
Especially in recent times. Opiates have really wreaked havoc on people, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to take it. I was taking ibuprofen, but I was probably taking a little too much, and then when you do that, it usually affects your stomach and things of this nature. So
Sure.
I was never much of a drug guy. I tried to find some way to work around the pain, whatever I could do. So I happened to find these guys. ARPwave is what it's called. Advanced Recovery Protocols is the acronym is ARP. But they told me.
You were just looking over the internet?
Internet.
You were looking, so what were you looking for?
I was looking for ways to alleviate knee pain without drugs. So I don't remember what I Googled at the time, but it was something of that nature. And these guys popped up. And there was a lot of athletes, professional athletes.
Yeah, I know soccer teams were using it. I remember AC Milan or something.
Yep.
Those people are using it, or were using it at least.
And one of the reasons they use it is when you have one of your star players down and they're paying them millions of dollars, you want to get them back in the game as quick as possible. So I thought, well, if these guys are using it, I'm just an amateur baseball player and I'm amateur whatever. I figured, why not? So I actually called them, and I believe I talked to a gentleman by the name of Dennis, who I became good friends with afterwards. But at the time, he was telling me, he says, no, it's not a problem. Why don't you come over here and we'll treat you. And so I flew to Minneapolis. Their company is in Apple Valley, just south of Minneapolis. Did the treatments, and my knee was amazing. I didn't have to do a surgery. And again, we'll touch on this. I tell people all the time, if you don't have to do a surgery, don't do it.
Correct.
I mean, you can always have that. Again, a tool in the toolkit is surgery. It's available. But the problem with surgery, once you have it, you really can't go back.
Good point. You cannot undo that part.
No, you can't undo it. But if this doesn't work, you can undo that, whatever. It's not going to be a life-changing thing or something detrimental to your knee or something.
Yeah.
So I went out there and did it, and that was phenomenal. A guy named Jim Rieger was the one who did the protocols. And so they were pretty much just starting out with Dennis and Jay being president, CEO. And so
they were a pretty new company, or were they just new into, let's say, marketing, what they had studied?
Well, they were doing professional athletes before that.
Okay.
And they wanted to branch out to the general public.
Yeah.
So they came up with a device, an RX100, and also a POV, and I'll explain on those later. But they wanted a way to heal people up, to get rid of pain, mainly pain mitigation. That's what causes, if you get enough pain in a certain area, the body will actually quit sending signals to it because it doesn't want you to move it.
Right.
After, if on a pain level from 1 to 10, 10 being where you can't even stand it, and 1 being, it's uncomfortable. You get around the 5 or so running, and your body's going to want to shut down.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't like pain. That pain, there's a reason for pain.
Yeah, there's a reason. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason for pain. Pain tries to tell you that you've got injury, or you got problems, and you don't want to push it. But be that as it may, I really enjoyed it, and they were branching out. So I became like a franchise with them on the ARPwave. Part of it was for, obviously, profit, but the biggest thing was being injured. Anytime you're playing a sport, anytime you're active, and I'm people out there know this, you're going to get injured someday. Even playing pickleball, eventually you're going to pull something, it seems like. So I was looking at how do I get involved with this, that I can mainly use it on myself, my friends and family, because when they got injured, they only had one recourse, and that's going to the orthopedic surgeon.
You bet.
And a lot of times they were either saying, well, just lay off it for a while, and we'll see where it goes, or let's have surgery.
Or they go to a PT, physical therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tried it, and I loved it. So I wound up being part of the company. I purchased the RX100, which is really the healing aspect of the
whole protocol, so to say.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also the POV, which is the recovery after fixing the injury, the tear or whatever. So So, for example, you would, and this is just a general overview. So, for example, if you say, for example, we'll talk about knees, but it doesn't really matter. You know, you can
Doesn't matter what part of the body it is.
Right, it's pain. But
Yeah.
so, say you hurt one of your knees, because knees are pretty prevalent to hurt. You know, skiing and everything. So you would go and you'd put this ARX 100 on anywhere from probably 5 treatments to 20 treatments, depending on the severity of the injury. And then afterwards, you need to strengthen up the muscles, because muscles, one of the functions for muscles is movement. The other one helps with blood flow, but it's also for shock absorption.
Okay.
So your skeletal structure is a lot like your car in the sense that that's the frame. You don't want, energy or force going into there, because then you will have joint problems. You want it in, the muscles are the one that disperses the energy throughout your body. To a certain point, if you jump off a 6-story building, you're going to have more force than your muscles could ever handle.
You bet. Makes
So,
sense.
but your muscles absorb, besides movement, it helps absorb the force, the shock that you get when you're in sports and stuff like that. And something I had learned is when you walk, there's the amount of force on your body is 4 times that of your weight.
Really?
Yeah, and when you run, it's 16 times.
So?
It can be 16 times.
Huh.
So there's a lot of force going into your joints. And so if somehow you tweak your knee, your back, whatever, and you don't take care of it, it's probably not going to, something's going to happen down the road. It's like your car. If you don't take care of it at the time, you're probably going to be paying for it down the road, without a doubt.
Well, in this article that I wrote, Painful Pleasure, I mention indeed that once we get hurt and we still want to keep doing the activity or just moving from point A to point B, we start to compensate. We start limping a little bit, which means we put more pressure, let's say, on the hip, or you have an ankle problem, you start affecting the knee, because the knee is connected with the ankle, and then you get the hip, and then you start realizing that you walk a little funny, and then you try to compensate that, and then it starts affecting your spine, and all of a sudden you talk to somebody who comes to me, for example, and say, well, I have lower back pain. But that's not the pain where it started. It is just that's what they have done in order to walk normally. Let's say it that way, or be able to do the exercises or the activities, whatever they're trying to do. And when you actually talk to them, and that's what I usually like to do, I like to find out, when did you start having this pain? And did you have a pain before? Have you been compensating for it? Where the pain ends up, it could go from the spine, it could go to your shoulders, it could go to your neck. You could have headaches, and you don't even know why it started, but it started with your ankle.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that's very true, because a lot of times when we do a thing called search and discover. We used to call it search and destroy, but that sounded too much like, I don't know, SWAT stuff. But but what you do is we check and see where the pain is at, where it's most severe. And you'd be amazed.
That's where you start.
That's the way you start, when you try to discover where's the pain coming from. And a lot of times the person will say, oh, it's my lower back, but we find out it's actually maybe their hip. The pain is much more severe in the hip. That's where it's coming, but it ends in their back.
Yeah.
So do you want to treat the place where it comes from, or the place it ends up? You want to treat the place it comes from. And one thing you don't even know, a lot of times what you're saying is very true, because people don't even know that they're compensating. I'll give you my case in particular. I try to work through pain. That was the big thing.
Tough guy.
Work through tough. Come on.
Yeah.
Work through the pain. You can work through it.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you can, but a lot of times you can't. So it causes other problems. And I remember once I got my knee healed up by these guys, I was sprinting. And I was sprinting like my knee was still hurt. So it took me a while to get back into the proper mechanical motion of running, rather than the compensation, because your mind, you have a certain gait the way you walk, because if you're in pain, you're going to walk a different way than if you're not.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize that your mind is, that's a habit now.
Yeah.
So not only you have to get rid of the pain, you got to get rid of that habit, because if not, it'll come back because you're not walking properly.
Yeah, totally.
So there's a lot of things to it. It's not just the pain. I mean, you can get rid of pain by shooting it with morphine. You don't want to do that, though. So you want to get rid of the pain, plus you want to get rid of any kind of compensation that you're doing to mitigate the pain, more or less.
You
That's what
bet.
you're doing.
You bet. You bet. So the ARPwave was an instrument that now became available to the public. You started using it. What is it? What is it? I know you have the unit with you. Can you just show us real quick what that part looks like, and then
The
what
unit is this.
does?
So it has, electrical cable that comes out here, left and right.
Yeah.
And then it has two that branch off. So, for example, if you're putting it on your knee, you would put one on. Say you find that the knee is a problem.
The knee.
So you'd sandwich it between the black and the red, which is like positive, negative. Of course, so you have
On each side of the knee, on the outside.
each side of the knee.
Okay, yeah.
And also, they found that if you mimic it to the opposite side, like say your right knee's hurt, but you also put it on the left, you can actually take more intensity than if you just put it on your right side.
So you have 4, let's say, stickers. Is it a sticker or so that fits?
Pad. They're they're sticky pads.
Okay.
Electrical pads that you put on. We'll use the knee again, for example. But
Yeah.
It can be anywhere. So you put them on either side of your knee.
Yeah.
And then you put it on the opposite knee, even though that may not be injured. And when you turn it up and you do the protocols, it will, you turn it up here and do the protocols. Then this is an on and off switch. Then it shows you, you can program it when it's on. You can program it to various intensities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so you send an electric signal out. Now this sends out, it's really three electrical signals, pulses, whatever you want to call them.
Correct.
So it sends out the same signal that your brain sends. Your brain sends out electric. When you get injured, your brain will send out a signal, or send out a signal that you don't want to use that part of your body. But it'll send out about two signals within like a second. This will send out 250 signals in a second. It's not related to your brain. So your brain is related to your body, but this is external.
Yeah, Dennis Thompson would say it's the brain on the outside of your body.
It is.
We become the brain on the outside of the body, doing what your brain is not able to do anymore.
Not able to do because of the severity of the pain, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
So just so you know, there's two other proprietary waves that send. They send another wave that helps send blood to heal up the problem. Mm-hmm. But it also helps get rid of, especially if you've had an injury for a long time, you're going to have some scar tissue.
You bet.
It'll break down that scar tissue, and sometimes scar tissue is very inhibitable, as far inhibiting to you or to move and things like that. And so what it does is those three signals that it sends there are external. So it's not like when you hurt yourself. Let me back up a little bit. When you hurt yourself, your brain can only send like a couple signals a second to that injured area.
Yeah.
So when you go to a PT, for example, they usually don't have an electric modality like this. They might have a stim or whatever, but they don't have electric modality.
Sure.
And this has been approved by the FDA. So your brain will only send a signal if it feels within a certain pain range.
Right. Comfort level, whatever it is.
Yeah, comfort level, because you say it's a 1 to a 10, 10 being the most severe. If it's around a 5, the brain doesn't like sending a signal there, having that move. It just doesn't like pain. Mm-hmm. Obviously, people don't like pain, obviously.
Yeah.
So it'll send it irregardless what your brain's doing. So it's an external brain that sends a signal there irregardless. Mm-hmm. So that you can do the protocols, eliminate that pain, eliminate that scar tissue, get the healing process started like you normally would anyway.
Right.
And then you're able to get rid of the pain. Now you can move around. So say, for example, your knee is injured and you put the pads on there and you turn it up. You do certain protocols. One of the protocols for knees, of course, is like squatting without weight. You don't need weight.
Sure.
So I've seen people that can't even bend their knee any degree, put it on and do full squats with it after it. So say, for example, you came to me and you said, man, my knee is really tore up. I don't know what to do. I'm thinking about going to an orthopedic surgeon. So I'd have you do protocols. Say your protocol is squatting with this on.
Sure.
So we turn it up we try to turn it up as high as we can. The electric impulse that it goes to the knee, the stimulation, we try to turn it up as high as you'll take. We try to tell people, let's try to get it to at least a 9 on a scale from 1 to 10.
Woo! Wow.
Usually it's around an 8. People, 10 would be I don't know what pain level 10 would be. I mean, probably burning up in a fire, I guess. But,
Wow.
we try to get them.
And you do that in the first treatment already?
The first treatment,
you go up that high?
Well, what we do in the first treatment, we're kind of, I'm kind of circumventing some of this stuff, but what you do is, for example, if you came to me, we would test you and see if your body is even sending a signal to that area.
Okay.
And a lot of times, like say, for example, if you injure your knee, we'll have you bring your leg up, and with 2 fingers, if I can push your leg down and you can't resist, it's not sending a proper signal to those muscles. So you'll see on the good side of your good leg, you do it.
Yeah.
And I can't, with 2 fingers, I can't move your leg.
That's resistance. Yeah, clear resistance.
And then with 2 fingers on the other side that's injured, it'll go down like there's almost no resistance.
And there may not be pain by you doing that, but
right.
The resistance, the lack of resistance is indicating that there is no blood flow going to that area.
Well, actually what it indicates is there's no signal to those muscles to get them to contract properly, to make them strong, strong enough to resist it.
Correct.
It's so weak that the amount of electricity that your brain's sending is not enough to even hold 2 fingers from pushing it down. So once you realize that, then we hook you up again and we get you firing properly. It's like a computer, you blue screen or something, you turn it on and off and it fixes itself in a sense.
Yeah.
We've all had it where the computer went down and you had to turn it on and off. So what it does is it allows the signal to be sent, not even necessarily from your brain, but from this unit.
Correct.
So that you got resistance. So after we do that and we get you in sync where your body will allow it, because if you've been injured a long time, it's not sending a proper signal to that area. It's just not. It's just what the brain does to kind of self-preservation or something of that nature. So you want to get muscles firing properly, then do the protocols so that they're firing and they're contracting and whatever you're trying to do to heal that up.
Okay.
Every injury is a little bit different, but so once you get them so the muscle is resisting, then we do the protocol. So you come to me, say for example, and we get you firing again, so everything's fine. We sandwich you in between the pads, and subsequently start turning it up. What I normally would do is like, Jacobus, what hurts you the most for this injury? And say, for example, you say, well, I just can't walk upstairs with my knee. I can't bend it. So what we'll do is we'll put it on, turn it up to the intensity you say, okay, I'm good at this, no more. Then we'll just have you walk up and down the stairs with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're like, man, I can't believe I can do that. And so we do about 4 to 5 treatments, 4 or 5 times. We'll do like, okay, how's that feel? Okay, we'll go up again. And every single time that we go up, you'll find, like, say, for example, you could only go to, it goes from 1 to 100.
Yeah.
So say that for the very first time, you can only maybe go to a 10.
Okay.
By the time you're done with the treatment, you're probably going to be at a 25.
After the 4 or 5 times?
Yeah, 4 or 5 times. You're going to be at 25. And so you'll be going up and down the stairs. And then after you're done, you take it off and you'll say, go ahead and try it now. Well, they go up and down the stairs with maybe a pain level of 1 or 2. Before
Really?
They couldn't even do it.
Yeah.
So they're going up and down the stairs, for example, and I explain to people, you're feeling great. This is one thing, people they want to push the limits. Don't go out and start playing tennis right now.
Right, I see.
Just take it easy until, So, for example, say you're feeling great, the pain level's of 1 or 2. Don't overdo yourself. So we'll give you we try to do at least 5 treatments in a week, preferably 6, and give one day off. So you go, say,
so you go in every day.
Every day you go in. It takes about 20 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
Do the treatments, and then about 3rd or 4th time through, we check you again to see where the pain is. Is it the same area or has it moved? Has it moved to your calf area, lower or up above, like your thigh? Because we want to focus on where the pain's coming from, not where you feel it at.
Sure.
So say after about the 5th time, to the 10th time, people are feeling great. But we're telling them, you're healing still. You're still healing. So don't overdo it. And so a lot of times people say, okay, well, what's the litmus test? What is it that I can do?
Right.
I tell them, you can pretty much do anything with your knee until you hit a pain level about a 3 or 4. If you're out playing tennis and all of a sudden your pain's coming back to a 3 or 4, stop.
Okay.
Don't do anymore. If you're biking, stop. You can't. I don't want you at a 5 or 6 or 7.
Right.
Because you want that healing. It takes time to heal.
Yeah, makes sense.
All this is it's pretty much the same as what your body can do. It's just accelerated.
Right, and it is in part of what I read, what Dennis was writing was you kind of have to get started with it. It's again the baby steps that we've talked about before, and you cannot overdo it. You should not let me say it this way: you shouldn't overdo it, because it gives you this false sense of security.
Right.
And the body, there are so many parts to the body that cause the pain, and that the body needs to repair the pain and to put the body back in, let's call it homeostasis, that you need to follow. Indeed, there is a protocol. You need to follow that protocol.
Yeah, you need to follow it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he's done it for what, 35 years or something? He's been working with stuff like this. And this machine was actually made according to his specifications in Russia at the Tesla Institute.
Well, that's interesting. Here's how it happened.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little bit of history of that so people understand. Electric stimulation has always been used pretty much since they had it for athletic performance.
Yeah.
So Jay went over to Russia.
Yeah, Jay Schroeder.
Schroeder.
Yeah.
He went over to Russia. They had the original. He has the original one in his office. It's pretty funny. It's it's like an original, I don't know, TV where the thing's big and the tube is heavy and cumbersome and a bunch of dials on it. So he went over there and they were using it for athletic performance. Athletes might get a little bit hurt or fatigued or whatever. How do they mitigate that so that they can be at their top level? So they took all this information and pretty much shrunk it down to something like this that is manageable. That thing you would have to hire a couple Sherpas probably to take it with you to do it, and you'd have so many dials. It looks like one of those old Frankenstein movies where you're grabbing levers and stuff. So they put they started using it for athletes, and Jay, actually interesting, he actually became paralyzed, I think, in a motorcycle accident, and used it to get out of the paralysis.
Wow.
So, because it's not, and it can happen. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. We can talk about that. We can talk about that later in the show. But remember, it's an exterior, external stimuli. It's not your brain. Your brain will only do what your body's pretty much. Your brain pushes your body past the point sometimes what you should be doing.
Yeah.
But at some point, the brain will also shut down. I mean, you're going to shut down if you're going, maximum. So you want to get that healed up. Make sure it's healed up. Because if not, you're going to be back to the same point somewhere in the near future. If you only go, say, for example, 10 treatments, but you really needed 20. Yeah. Or 5 and you really need a 10, and you really don't know until usually it's the amount of injury. If it's a sprain, sprains are really easy because they're not as severe. But, if you tear something up in there, it's going to take you a lot of time for the knee to come back or a lot of treatments to make sure that it gets to the point where you don't have to have surgery. And that's probably one of the hardest things for people to realize. They usually overdo it. They realize, well, now I can play tennis or do basketball. And then they're back, oh, my knee's killing me. Well, let's heal it up first, don't jump into it.
And plus, learn the proper technique.
Yes.
Some people do not use the proper technique when they're exercising or when they're moving in general.
Of course.
And so then they keep re-injuring it. I have to go back in time, and I remember that I came and did some sessions, and I just have to tell you, Paul, is nothing personal, but man, to me, it was very painful. It is like electrical, you get an electrical shock kind of in the area. Wouldn't you describe it like that?
It is.
It's like, it feels like your leg is asleep, but then not just in the numbness part of it, but actually it's painful. But I do know, and you're one of those people, you get so used to it and your body is healing, you would sleep with it.
Yes.
You turn it on what? On 10 level, a certain level, and then you sleep with it through the night.
Yeah, and what you do is, like, for example, you can put it on background. It has various settings, and you put it on background and turn it up. And then what you don't want heavy contractions at that point at like sleeping at night, because first off, it keep you up at night. Secondly, you mainly want the proprietary waves, the pulses that put blood in there and start taking away the scar tissue at that point.
Right.
You don't necessarily need contractions because you're just there. So, like swelling, for example, I get a lot of people that when they tweak their knee and their knee's swollen. So I'll sandwich their knee in between, the pads, and then have them put their leg up and then turn it on background, turn it up until they can feel it.
Okay.
Until they can feel it, and then have them just sit there, lay on the bed or, sit down on the ground and their leg up, and to have them do it for about 20, 30 minutes. And afterwards, you can see the difference. You have to actually measure it, because if the people don't see it, but you measure it. Say for example, it's your knee swollen to 17 inches or something. Then afterwards, you do it and it's down to 12, and they're like, "Oh my God, yeah, it is," or whatever the case may be.
Right.
You're checking. So it's always good to use like a measurement so they can actually see the difference. But it gets that fluid out of there. The swelling that when you tweak something, the body sends fluid in there so it doesn't move and stuff. So
right, and that is also a part of the recovery these days versus in the past when you would have a surgery, for example. We try to avoid surgeries, but they would have you laid up for a while.
Yeah.
And today, medical world is actually saying you got to get moving.
Yeah.
Whatever surgery you've done, a lot of the surgeries, they say you got to start moving. You got to go to the bathroom. You have to. You got to keep that joint going, and I remember having several knee surgeries, ACLs and stuff myself. I would go to PT within 48 hours and sit already on the bike and start biking, moving it around, because that is the best way to get the blood flow back into the area. I just want to come back to my own personal experience. So this is, you feel this electrical stimulation and you set it to the level that is comfortable enough for you, where you would say to me, or you will say to me, now you have to start with this tingling that you feel. Let's start doing certain exercises. That's what you're talking about.
yes. So you do certain protocols depending on what part.
What do you mean
injured.
with a protocol in this case? Let's say so you mean a knee protocol is different than a hip protocol than a back protocol, or within the knee you can have different protocols as well?
Well, with the knee, your protocol might change depending on where the pain's at and what intensity you still feel and the amount of healing that you have. So it's hard to say exactly you're going to be doing this, this, and this until we see where you're at. We always check to see where you're at, what you're able to, how far you're able to bend your knees, how far, how much intensity you can take from the RX 100.
Yeah.
So that makes a big difference too. And I'll tell you, people are different. Some people can handle pain a lot better than others.
Yeah.
They say women can handle pain, and I believe that more than men, and mainly because of childbirth is very, very painful. They said if men gave birth, we'd all died off long ago. Because they'd be, oh my God, I'll never do this again.
Yeah.
But it's also, I find who I really like treating, I love treating, is athletes. Because sometimes you got to actually back them off. Other people there, you turn them up and it's just a little bit of stimulation. They're like, oh my God. Well, it's like anything else. The more you put in, the more you get out of it, So if you're not going very high on the device,
Yeah.
It's going to take you longer because you're just not getting the intensity that you need. I mean, it took a lot of force and a lot of energy and a lot of pain to get you where you're at now.
Yes.
So you're not going to be just a magic wand, and
Yeah.
you're going to be, oh, I'm great now. So athletes are great. I've treated dozens and dozens of athletes, and I love it because they, you turn it up and you're thinking that they're going to be doing the funky chicken. I mean, it's so high.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'll take more. And you're like, no, this is good for you.
Because it's one thing, it is almost like jumping in a cold pool.
Mm-hmm.
It's very painful in a way.
Right.
And then you sit there and you go like, okay, I can sit here, but I'm not going to move.
Yeah.
Right? And that is maybe what I felt. I felt that electrical stimulation to the point where I go like, oh my goodness. And then you're supposed to do some exercises with that. And it's like, that makes it almost more painful, but that's where the healing begins.
That's where you have to go. It's almost like kind of a torture device in a sense, I guess, to get a confession from you. But what it is you don't go to a physical therapist and just lay on the bed. You just don't do that.
No, they actually make you work.
They make you work, make you move that, whatever's afflicted with the injury, they're going to make you do it.
Yeah.
So the same thing with this. You'll have people, you turn it up to say a 9, and they're like, oh my God, I don't think I can move. So sometimes you got to hold their hands. For example, they're going to do squats. Okay, give it a little, let's try it. And then eventually, like on the 5th, you do the first protocol or the first treatment or whatever, and you do 5 times. You have them do squats 5 times, and then you have them do it for 4 times after that.
Yeah.
5 reps, 4 sets. So then they're like at the end of the whole total treatment, they're going all the way down to a level that before they were injured.
I see. Wow.
So you have to have movement.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just turn this on and just sit back and let it shock you. You have to move.
Yeah.
But usually you have to entice them to do it. You hold their hands so they're like, oh, I don't think I can squat.
Correct.
You can do it, and you just help them get. Once they start going, then
I get it.
The pain diminishes,
Yeah.
and they're able to go up on the device, up on the device.
Interesting. Yeah.
And once you get to 70, 75 on the device, it goes up to 100. But once you get that, you're pretty much healed up.
Wow.
There might be some scar tissue that you want to get rid of, because scar tissue is like an ohm resistance. You send electrical impulse and it hurts because it's bouncing off that scar tissue. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure you break up that scar tissue. And unfortunately, a lot of people, I'll have people in there that I treat, and they'll say things like, I always ask them, did you have an injury when you were younger or whatever? And they're like, oh, no. And then you go over their body to make sure. And then they're like, oh, geez, my knee. Well, did you ever have an injury here? Yeah, now to think of it, I did have a motorcycle wreck. They never fixed it or did anything for it.
Right.
And then they go, it kind of sparks, them go, oh, yeah, I did. But that was 20, 30 years ago. It's like, well, you never had it really fixed. So you got scar tissue in there. You have to get.
That's your protection. That's your body's protection from getting that pain, to stimulate that pain.
Yeah.
The scar tissue cuts that off.
Yeah, and when you get older, all those crazy things you did younger kind of come back to you, and they don't realize that. It isn't like you're all of a sudden you got a new body. It's
Plus we lack in exercising.
Yes.
We eat differently as we get older.
Yes.
We don't develop our muscles. We don't keep the muscle growth or the use of muscles up. And so slowly but surely, the protective layer of the muscles is disappearing.
Absolutely.
And you're getting exposed again to the pain.
Yeah, sarcopenia sets in. Sarcopenia is the atrophy of the muscle. Mm-hmm. And now, when you do something like, hey, I decided I'm going to go play some basketball I haven't played in years.
Yeah.
And then you're like, damn, my knee's killing me. Why is that? It's not because you had an injury while you're playing basketball. It's because you had an injury in the past, and your muscles aren't absorbing the shock like they're supposed to do, or you're compensating for your knee because it'll hurt you if you run normal like you normally used to. So those are things that we really try to, it's not just the healing or removing of the pain. How do we keep it from coming back?
I want to read this little story about this lady who I ran into in the waiting room, and it's kind of cool because you're talking about athletes, But this lady, besides, Josephine is about 81 years old. 81. But you're never really allowed to ask a lady's age. However, she said her youngest daughter was 56. So I met her youngest daughter. So I said, I met Josephine in the waiting room at the Bozeman ARPwave Clinic, which was owned by you. She was getting ready for her next treatment on the POV machine, while I was still sweating for my second RX100 treatment. Josephine had this happy, peaceful smile on her face as she was telling me how she came to the clinic mid-March leaning on her walker, her right foot distinctly pointing outward while walking, her right knee bum swollen and painful from tripping over her dog at home and from years of compensating for other pains. She had heard about this machine, the RX100, that could help her to end pain and avoid surgery. She did 10 treatments with that device until she was pain-free and had already done 10 plus treatments on the POV, we'll talk about it, to regain mobility, muscle strength, and less dependence on a walker. As she walked into the treatment room, her foot moved in the straightforward direction without pain, and the walker had been replaced by just a cane. She instantly became my inspiration. If Josephine can tell me that after one of the treatments the muscles in her leg hurt so much she couldn't see straight and smile at me while saying it, then I feel that I should be able to handle more pain to get to the same success that she is having today.
You should.
I
should
should.
feel ashamed. No. Well, let me.
But this is not an exception.
No, it's not
For
an
you,
exception.
because you have seen people of different age ranges, and you'd say athletes, and of course maybe you're talking about college athletes or so.
A lot of college. Being a college.
But you're
town.
an athlete,
Right.
You know. So athletes of all different ages, there's just a different, maybe a little bit more of a mindset where I can handle a little bit more than maybe what most people can handle.
Yeah, and they've been through. Athletes, especially like football, contact sports, they're going to be hurt. You're going to get hurt somewhere along the road. It's not if, it's when. So they're used to pain a little bit more than people that don't do that. So I just try to tell them, let's be reasonable here too. Though you don't want to push it past the point where you're not getting the effect. We want to get you back pain free. We want to get you back properly, and we have to break the pattern or the compensation
Factor,
and that was just big. Case in point, if you watch people walk, and you can do it yourself, walk in the sand at a beach, and if your footprints are out like this, especially if they're out like this, I guarantee you're going to have some problems with your hip as you get older, because usually that's some kind of pain that occurred, and they compensate the pain by the feet going out. Feet should be straight ahead. Watch a young kid run before they're injured, and they all run. It looks proper mechanics.
Yeah.
As you get older, you watch an old person run, and they run depending on what hurts the most and how they're going to put their foot down. And everything. So you want to be able to break that. It's not just the fact of getting rid of the pain. You also want to make sure that pain doesn't come back or that injury doesn't come back, because you want to make sure that everything is mechanized and working properly like it should be. So the POV, you mentioned the POV. The POV is exactly the same as this. It's only a different device. The RX100 is mainly for healing injuries.
healing injuries.
The POV is getting the muscle strong again, getting the legs or the arms or whatever strong again, so those injuries don't come back. Because if we were to treat you 2 or 3 times, you're going to feel great. But if we don't keep treating you to the point that that you don't slide backwards to the injury, what you were before the injury, then you're just a revolving door, and that's what we don't want. We want to be able to have you get back to where you were before the injury. And it takes the POV, a lot of people, one good thing about the POV is you can put a broomstick on your back, and I can turn this thing up, the POV up, and you'd swear you're squatting 800 pounds. I mean,
Really?
but what's good about it is you're not squatting 800 pounds because that weight would be very detrimental to your lower back and everything.
You bet.
But you got to strengthen up that area that's injured so that it doesn't come back. You got to strengthen those muscles up. You got to make sure that scar tissue's out of there, and you got to make sure it's strong. If your muscles aren't strong, that force is going to go back into that joint. It's still going to hurt it.
So is it you pretty much get 2 units?
Well, 2 units. You get two different units, but you'll do the RX 100 until you get
First.
to the point. Yeah. So like I stated earlier, you go to certain points. So say, for example, you hurt your knee, but we got you up to a point where you're pretty much like 75, 80.
80%.
Well, you're pretty much healed. It's healed up.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, we try to get you at 100, but that's pretty intense, 100. But we get healed up. Then we want to strengthen you up. So then you go with the POV and do protocols on the POV.
Okay.
To strengthen
you don't use the RX 100 anymore?
You don't need it. No, you don't need it anymore.
Okay.
Because you're healed up.
Yeah,
it's like it's like I'll loosely state it. It's like going to the orthopedic surgeon.
Yeah.
You hurt your knee real bad. It has to have surgery. Then you go to the
PT.
PT. That's the PT is the POV.
Okay.
So you go and you got to do the PT.
Right.
And most orthopedic surgeons I've talked to will say things like, "We're only half of it. If we give you a surgery, you have to do the PT."
Correct.
If you don't do the PT, you're probably going to be back there again.
Yes.
So that's just as important that you do the POV after the RX 100, so that you're not back there again. So you're not in a situation where you're like a revolving door.
Yeah. So the POV is an abbreviation. PO that I understand is the Russian version for force.
Force.
And then V stands for velocity.
Yes, exactly. And that was mainly Jay's invention. Was his idea, because he was a power lifter at one time and pretty much crippled, and couldn't walk. He was the one that invented the POV through a lot of work with Russian scientists. See, the Russians could do a lot more to their athletes than we could do. And they actually take care of them a lot better than we take care of our athletes. But that's a different story altogether.
Yes.
The thing is I try to tell people it's not a quick fix, simple fix like you would if you take a prescription.
Correct.
But your prescriptions really aren't healing anything. It's just masking the pain.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's fine if you hurt your knee initially. Yeah, it's just too painful. I can't sleep or whatever. Yeah. But then let's get you off those as quick as we can.
Right. But yeah, go ahead. The idea the problem with the prescription drugs in this case is that you think you can do everything again. So you keep doing it in exactly the same technique. Let's call it technique that you have been using that got you in
the first place.
So now that is why the withdrawal symptoms are so bad.
Right.
Because once you stop taking that, the pain is coming back almost exponentially.
Yeah.
And that is why people don't want to do it, besides the nausea they may feel and the sleeplessness, etc., etc. And I do want to. There was an article that I just printed out, and it is by the National Center for Drug Abuse Statistics, and that is pretty much now here in 2025, and it says 4 out of 5 pharmacy-filled prescriptions are opioids. Mm-hmm. 4 out of 5, which is 82%. So you look at all the painkillers, there's 9.7 million annual abusers. The opioids alone is 9.3 million. So the opioids, out of the painkillers, 9.7, 9.3 is opioids. So there's not what you say, the ibuprofen or the Tylenol or stuff. This is opioid stuff.
Yeah.
The sedatives, 5.9, stimulants, 4.9 million, benzodiazepine alone is 4.8 million, all prescription drugs is 16.3. So I just want to throw these numbers out there for people so that you just have an idea how we're put together and why what we're talking about with this ARPwave, how many people we could actually take off prescription drugs, which in the long run will save them a lot of money and a lot of aggravation in relationships, in quality of life. Just give the body the tools to start healing itself. That's what it is all about.
Yes.
And you cannot always do it. As much as I like dietary supplements, you cannot always do it with the supplements alone. You may have to use, in this case, an external brain
Right.
that is going to help you stimulate. The stress on the medical world and the effect that it has on the people who actually use it is enormous. And,
Yeah.
and these are just numbers that we know of. These are not the people who are using it
In the shadows.
in the shadows,
Yeah.
and who don't know, who maybe have a prescription but already run out because they're double and tripling it. So they probably go on the black market and
Right.
try to get what they need in order to have something of a quality of life. And it is almost impossible for you and I to really understand that. But when you look at some of these documentaries, I don't know if you've seen some of them, but these
I have.
people's lives are ruined.
Ruined.
They're
devastated.
They're in poverty. A lot of them are in poverty anyway, and their quality of life is literally sitting on a chair eating. If they can do
I know.
that. And I do not believe that that was the intent when we came into life here.
Right.
That we were going to suffer this much in our life. And so I'm not saying that ARPwave and the POV system is all of a sudden the solution, but you have literally talked to both orthopedic surgeons and you have talked to physical therapists, to
And athletic trainers.
athletic trainers. You told them what?
I told them, just like anything, there's nothing in this world that's going to solve your problems 100%. Neither is this.
Right.
But what I tell them is, I don't need the people that you're getting results from.
Yeah.
I need the
You
people.
don't want to take anything away from you.
Right.
If you guys do this work.
Part of it is, ego. They don't want to, I don't want to give up my clients. But I tell them, everybody, regardless who you are, even in our case, there's times I've treated people and most of the time if I treat someone and it's not working, it's because it's so severe, the injury is so severe that they need surgery first. Then they can come back.
Okay.
Because it's not just to stop having surgery. It also, after you have surgery, you'll be back in 1/5 the time. I've seen it. It'll increase your need for a walker or for crutches or whatever.
Yeah.
But I tell them, I say, I don't want the patients you can make
help.
better. You can
Yeah.
make better. I don't need them. I need the ones that you've tried everything and I just can't get to them. They're still in pain. They're still, especially athletes. I can't get them out on the field. And give me that guy. Let me show you what I can do. And so it's not as intimidating as me saying I can take care of all your.
Give them to me. Yeah.
And it's not that way. It's not that way.
No.
It's another tool again in the tool chest. It's not the ultimate tool. Like everybody tries to make it look like, especially some of our medical fields is like, oh, you just have to come here. Well, no, not necessarily. But if I can help someone you cannot help, why don't we help them? Why don't we make that
It's
happen?
not about us. It is about
Yeah.
that person who is literally suffering.
Suffering, the pain they're going through, their inability to get back into the swing of things, So that's what I try to tell them is, I'm not trying to take your job or replace you.
Yeah.
I just give me the ones you can't get to.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you? I would. If I can't get through someone, I tell them. I've told people, there's a little bit more problem going on here than I can solve.
Yeah.
Go get your knee x-rayed. Go talk to an orthopedic surgeon. And almost in every case, they've had more injury to it than, I can't heal it. I just can't, I'm not going to be able to heal a bone that's sticking out of the skin, obviously,
No.
So I'd rather have them go and get the whatever surgery needs to be done, then come to me. I can get you back on your feet.
If that is
a
the
lot
case,
faster. Yeah.
that bone is probably poking right through the muscle.
Yeah.
And so now the muscle is damaged, so the muscle needs to be recuperated as well.
Yeah. So, but I can get you back after you get the necessary surgery, after you get the necessary whatever you need done, I can get you back in probably 1/5 the time. Definitely within 1/3 the time. And that's usually most important is for people, they don't want to be down. They want to get back into life.
Yeah.
So I can get you back into life much sooner.
But most people say, let me do it with medication.
Yeah,
because
but
I don't want to do the work. I'm sorry to say, but what I notice with these treatments, you have to do the work.
You have to do the work.
You have to get
It's
in your
not
car
magic.
or you get on your bike and you go to the office and then you get the treatment and then you suffer probably some. And again, you'll be surprised that you can handle actually more pain than you think you can.
Of course.
Because you have somebody like yourself who's there, you've been there, done it, and said you can do this. You're almost like a coach. You're a coach, you're a supporter. You really are there to say, listen, I'm not putting you with this machine and just figure it out. I'm here. I'm standing right next to you. I'll help you to see how far we can go with this. And I think the personal story that you have is super important. I want to come back to something that you mentioned earlier, and you kind of explained it, but you say we're trying to figure out where the original pain started. Mm-hmm. So when you work on the knee, and the knee is painful, and it starts to heal, but you start noticing that you can go up higher in level. We talked, let's say the pain started in the hip. When does that hip pain start to show up again that you have to start working on the hip?
It usually shows up about the third or fourth treatment.
Really?
Yeah, and then what you do is you put one pad, like the red pad, for example, would be the ground, and you use the black pad, because you have to have a ground, you have positive and negative.
Yeah.
So then you want to make sure that it isn't somewhere else. So then you go up and down the leg, around the knee.
Okay.
And it might even be, it might hurt right here. This really hurts right here, but then it finds out it travels. It travels down, it migrates down to the knee.
Yeah.
So you want to be where it's most painful. Where's it most painful? Where's the pain coming from?
Yeah.
That's what you want to treat, is where the pain's coming from, not where you're feeling it.
Yeah.
So usually around 3 or 4, we do another search. I like to call it search and destroy. It sounds more macho.
Yeah.
Search and discover, where you go and, okay, well, it's moved. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it stays in that area.
So after 3-4 people can tell that there is definitely already an improvement in the area where they started.
Yes.
So the up and down movement can be very subtle. Okay.
Yeah, it can be very subtle, but you see a difference. And a lot of times you actually have to show people because they don't believe it. Case in point, you get like a husband and wife, and you're treating the husband.
Yeah.
Because he got a bad knee. Mm-hmm. And you'll have him do a protocol of squats.
Okay.
So he goes down and he does a squat, and he'll say, well, Jesus, I didn't break 90. I barely maybe went 45 degrees down. And the wife goes, no, your butt was about touching the ground, because he's in pain. He's focusing on trying to do it, mm-hmm. and they don't see it. But the wife will tell him, no, you're, and then they're like, oh, really? So you have to convince them that they did what they think they didn't do. I mean, you can take pictures of it or whatever, mm-hmm. but when you're doing the protocols, you got to make sure. What I do is when I, like, say for example, I'm treating your knee.
Yeah.
I can usually tell when it's too much. So I turn it up intense-wise. Like, say, for example, we have an athlete. Those are the ones that push themselves too far. Yeah. If you start really compensating when I turn it up, where you're then I know that's too high. So I back it down. I don't want you compensating, because that's another form of compensation.
I see.
They're in so much pain, they're compensating for it, where they'll kind of move their knee a certain way like this, and it's like, we don't want it that way. It's the goal isn't to torture someone. The goal is to get them healed up as quick as possible. So I back it down until their knee and their foot might go out like this. You're like, no, let's get it back to where you're supposed to do it proper.
Yeah. It's almost like when you do an exercise.
Yes.
The weight is a little too much.
Weight's too much. And you see these guys going sideways and they're turning whatever. Yeah. That's a great way to really hurt yourself. It's called ego lifting, and we don't like that because you look macho bench pressing a Buick, but you don't look macho all of a sudden you're in a kind of a body cast, on the side of your arm. Yeah. So we have to be sensible. We can't get to the point where, we're not trying to show off. We're trying to get you healthy.
Yeah, so. You're not forcing the issue when you do the ARPwave. it is rather to do it correctly and build it up over more treatments than that you worry about, like you said earlier, we try to go to the point where you can handle that and maybe a little bit more. But if you see then there is a compensation happening, then it's not
If their
worth it.
foot turns out or
Yeah.
in or something, they're compensating.
Yeah.
And what I like about this system, for me, I'm an older athlete. I'm a real old guy. But what I like about it is I don't use ibuprofen anymore. I don't use any painkillers. I used to use like CBD oil. I don't even use that anymore because I do a stretch routine on the POV
Yeah.
to make sure that the muscles are loose and absorb the shock, and I don't use it anymore. That's me. I can do it because I own it and I have them. But it's nice not to really take anything, even whether it's prescription drugs or non-prescription drugs for pain. It's if you can do it without that, why would you do it? You wouldn't do it.
So something like this, I highly recommend if you watch this, if you live in the area where we're living in Montana, then I would definitely approach Paul. We'll make sure we give you the number and a way to get a hold of him to try this and to see what it can do for you. If you live somewhere else, can people go on YouTube and look up, find videos about ARPwave, get an idea that they can find it in their area?
Well, yes, they can go to ARPwave.com, ARPwave.com. And if they need it somewhere else, the gentleman they need to speak to is Jim Rieger. They can just get a hold of me. I can give them all Jim's information.
Yeah, we can put it on the screen.
Yeah, and whatever like say for example they're in Wisconsin or something.
Sure.
So they just got done with the surgery, but they want to get back on their feet as soon as possible. They want to get healed up. They don't want to take prescription drugs to do it, whatever the case may be. Jim will reach out to them, figure out what they need for protocols, Zoom call them, and even watch them go through their routine and their own. And you can become a pretty good expert on yourself pretty fast. You know what to do, where to put. They'll tell you where to put the pads, and so he'll send it out to you, and then you just use them for the number of protocols you need, and then send the machine back. So,
that's really so. They send you the machine so you can do it. So when do people decide to want to purchase one for themselves because they want to do this long term? They want to do it long term like you did. You hit a point of that you were able to do things again. I remember you playing, because my son-in-law played baseball against you.
Right.
I saw you limp to first base, and later I saw you literally run to first base.
I'm running now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, I'm not breaking any records, mind you.
No, but I do know that you were using the ARPwave and that you were definitely so much stronger. But I didn't even think you were wearing a brace for a while.
Yeah, I was.
And not anymore. So people don't have to purchase the product. You get it sent to your house.
Yes.
But if people want to, do other people who purchase the product after they figure out how the protocol works?
Yes, and the reason I purchased it is I knew I was going to, again, I'm an athlete. I do crazy things. I was skiing in Patagonia last August. I mean, I'm going to get hurt. It's not if, it's when. So if you're that type of person where you're an ultimate, marathon or something, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So they can purchase both the RX 100 and the POV for, recovery.
Are they really expensive?
To me, they're kind of, they're.
But you look at what it costs, even if you have insurance, to go to PT, most people still have money coming out of pocket.
Right.
And it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be perfect. You could be going to PT for 6 months.
Right.
Once a week. So.
Right.
Can you give us a rough idea what we're looking at price-wise?
POV, the RX 100 is probably around $7,500. The POV, I believe, is $5,000. It might have changed, but that's about it. But once you get it, you would use it.
And that has everything that you need.
Has everything you need. You
get the pads. Maybe you have to purchase the pads when they don't stick anymore or something. Okay.
Well, what I use, they got this sticky stuff. It's like honey, clear honey, and you just put it on the pads.
Okay.
And you extend the lifetime of the pads to almost lifetime.
Yeah.
You extend it, and you don't. I mean, I use it for friends and family mainly, and myself, because they get hurt, sprain an ankle, whatever. Within 5 days, they're back running again. A sprained ankle. Sometimes a sprained ankle, most people will take 6 weeks. They don't want you doing it. But again, what do you want to do? What is your intent? Is your intent to, if you're an athlete, I'm saying if you're just a normal person, you won't want to purchase this. You'd just be best to use it when you need it, rent it.
Correct.
But if you are an athlete, of course, what's your alternative? Drugs? Painkillers?
Yeah.
That's not a really good alternative. That should be a primary thing that you do when you hurt yourself, so you can, you're not climbing the walls. But constantly ibuprofen, I'm sure that's wreaks havoc on, 800 milligrams. That's probably wreaking havoc on people's stomachs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Well, it is all not only the money that goes into that part, but the potential side effects that you could have from those.
Yeah.
So for most people, they could actually contact and then get the unit sent to them, and then you pay a rental fee or something for the time being.
And another thing I want to bring up, which is kind of nice, is you can get an initial treatment free to make sure it works for you. If it doesn't work, I would send. If it doesn't, very rarely it doesn't work completely. But if it doesn't work, then it's probably something else, maybe a more major problem, like I stated earlier. But you can get it sent and treated, and if it isn't working, you'll know after the first treatment if it's working, because your pain level will go down.
Yeah.
If it's working, and we'll assume it is, then continue with it, and then make a decision. You don't need to buy it right off the bat.
No.
I wouldn't push that for anybody, but try it, see if it works. And the bottom line is this, I'm not saying surgery is bad. It's not bad at all. You need them. If something's torn in there, something's broken, you need it. But why not try something, say it doesn't work. Say it just doesn't work for you. Well, you still have the surgery option. If you have surgery, you don't really have another option after that. You've had the surgery. You can't go, I don't want the surgery anymore. No. And what is it? 10 to 20% of people that have had knee surgeries wish they didn't have them, because, or at least 10%.
And replacements.
Replacement. They're
like,
it doesn't work. It's still painful.
I heard that before.
You do the RX 100, didn't work. You don't.
So what? When we're going to wrap it up here. But what are areas of the body that you have worked with on people? We keep talking about the knee to give an example, but. Tell us, you work with shoulders, you work with hips, you work with feet, hands. What do you work with?
Well, anything with joints or ligaments or tendons, usually, that's the big ones. Big ones are hips, lower back, knees. But I've worked some other crazy areas that were painful, like the pelvic areas and things like that.
Yeah.
Not as often,
no.
But usually it's like upper neck, a lot of those, lower back.
Well, you mentioned pelvis. There are quite a few people, women more than men, that have pelvic floor issues, pelvic floor muscle issues. Are those some of the things that you can use this for as well? That's amazing, because the pelvic floor runs all the way from the pelvis, but then up and then under the rib cage. It's a pretty big area,
right?
That most people do not understand. Wow, so you work with that as well,
but not as much. It's mainly the ones like anything else.
The big one, where we
when you hurt yourself, you usually hurt your knee or your elbow or your shoulder
or your back or something.
Maybe your feet.
Yeah.
You're not. Lower neck area, your neck, upper neck area is a big one too. People with neck, and that can cause things like migraine headaches and or whatever, and we can get rid of those by doing that. But it's a tool. Again, it's a tool. I'm not saying it's the panacea of everything. No matter what you get, where it's going to cure it. That's not the case.
Yeah.
But it's just a way to mitigate pain, especially in the joint areas, and that's a big problem. I mean, that's why we had orthopedic surgeons, and so many of them in Bozeman.
You bet.
Is because obviously people are getting hurt. They get hurt by doing a sport, usually, by doing something they maybe haven't done in 10 years, and they do it, and they're like, my God.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for coming in today. Thank you for taking that initiative, talking to people like Dennis and Jay back in the 12, 13, 14 years ago.
Right.
And deciding that this was something that you felt you needed to bring to Bozeman, in this case, but there are other areas in the country where these are being used quite a bit. And so, but I appreciate that you have not only decided that this was really important for people to have a tool in the toolbox, but also I just know that you have given your time very generously to help people, friends and family,
Sure.
to just
Thank
feel
you.
better. And that's much appreciated. And
Yeah.
I wish you well with everything that you're doing. And I know you're not using the machine much today, but I do hope that you keep reaching out to people about these options. And I want to thank you for explaining it, coming in, and also Paul is not trying to say this is the end all, but Paul is saying really this is an option. If you have tried different things and you're not noticing the improvements you're looking for, you're just still stuck, then do some more research on the ARPwave. Go to ARPwave.com and find out
Exactly.
about it. So I wish you well. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
It's always fun to talk
All
to
right.
you.
Sure.
All the best.
You bet.
Visit healthinfocusnow.com.